Great, and we'll be happy to take you through the adoption pack today. So just to start with, Somerford, we're not Netscope, we resell Netscope, but through us you get all this value-adding wrap as well. We're a preferred partner with Netscope, so we have a lot of our consultants with SC and DB clearance and up to the kind of education level that allows us to be this preferred partner. And in that way, you get some really great customer success through us. We also make sure we can deliver you great training and enablement for any of our products that we offer. And you don't just get training and enablement, you also get someone who's implementing this to the best practice. We can follow up and support you through various services, annual health checks. You could choose to have augmented support or our standard support, and certainly some quarterly business reviews, just to ensure that you're getting maximum value from Netscope. And we also provide the cloud risk assessment as well. So here we are, the Somerford wrap around Netscope. But I'll pass to Paul as to why you might choose the Netscope Rapid Adoption Pack.
Thank you, Anne. So when it comes to a tool like Netscope, you're looking at what is essentially a SASE, or Secure Access Service Edge solution, and it can be quite daunting when you look at all the features that can be enabled, the work that might be involved in rolling it out, but it doesn't have to be. With a tool like this, time to value is key in securing your end users and their activities, particularly these days with the ever-changing environment of today's cloud space. So many apps coming out every day, so many websites, etc. How do you quantify them all? So with a rapid adoption pack, it's there to assist clients with reaching security goals as quickly as possible, but also in a controlled way, so that you don't bring down your business or open up risks, etc. So we're focusing on that speed and also control. So there are 4 key elements to rolling out Netscope, and this only represents a small number of their features. It's quite an involved tool. So we've got a next-gen secure web gateway. We're looking at controlling web activity, sites that users can go to, but because it's next-gen, we're controlling the activities that they can even perform on those websites. So legacy, you would just be blocking someone visiting the site. It would just give them a message saying you're not allowed to go here. But now you could allow them to go to the site, but not allow them to upload or not allow them to log in, etc., to free up that control. A good use case for that would be if you use Google Drive as your company cloud storage and a customer uses Office or OneDrive, then you can control that they can download from OneDrive but they can't upload to it, for example, and they can only send your PII data up into Google Drive. CASB is your cloud access security broker. So now we're looking at the applications at a granular level, rather than you having to go in and do a whole host of URLs to free up an application. This is where you're doing it just with one click, essentially, saying that a user is allowed to access a particular application, and then you can pick and choose the activities they're allowed to do in that as well. We're moving into DLP. So under the hood, Netscope itself has really powerful DLP capabilities, where it's looking at the data that's in flight. Even if it's zipped up, it's going to unzip, it's going to read it, it's going to determine what to do to that data, and whether to allow it to go or whether to block it based on the content. And you can fully control what those rules are, those policies. They do give you a whole host out of the box that cover a large number of industry standards like HIPAA, GDPR, etc. But you can customize that, granularly control that data with your own tags, dictionaries, etc. And lastly, we've got threat protection. So again, your data is being checked in flight the same way in DLP. So if a user was to go and download a file from a website that turns out to be malware, it would be checked before it even reaches the user's device. So everything is happening in a cloud tenant. You're not looking at on-prem equipment here that traffic has to pass through to be checked. It's being checked in flight via a cloud tenant that file, if detected by Netscope, would never actually reach the end user. And next slide, please. So again, we're rolling back to, it can look like a complex, daunting task to roll this out or replace an existing secure web gateway or CASB, but it doesn't have to be. There's a set process that you can follow that allows you to do this very quickly, but still in a controlled way. You're looking at the Netscope visibility aspect is so granular. It gives you so much information that you can roll this out in such a way that you wouldn't be impacting your users, and you want to have it in as quickly as possible because of the ever-changing threat landscape of the internet these days.
So we've got 3 pillars in our adoption pack, and all of them include this license subscription of 12 months, includes enablement and training, the design, scope and implementation, the in-house support desk going forward, your dedicated account manager going forward, and actually a 6 monthly health check, so more regular than we'd normally do, just to keep you on track. And all of this delivered by someone like Paul in our team, who's the Netscope Prime Certified Technical Consultant. So these are the 3 pillars that we are offering for the Rapid Adoption Pack. There's the next gen, so Secure Web Gateway. There's the Cloud Access Security Broker pillar, and there's the Data Loss Protection pillar as well. So I'll go through the high level of each of these, and then Paul will take you through what the project looks like for each. Starting with the next gen Secure Web Gateway pillar. So remember, this will give you at the end of the short period of time that nuanced threat protection, and that next gen element, which has that nuance of you can do some activity depending on what your policies are, and it includes all of the detailed scoping. Would do as well a beginning and afterwards SASE assessment and cloud security assessment, so you can see how you have been improving along the kind of a roadmap for cloud security and where you'd want to go next. And obviously the Netscope environment has been set up, so you could be doing the other pillars yourself, or you could have our support, but this one's just focusing on the Secure Web Gateway.
So here we have. So here we have just a high-level overview of the tasks that would be involved in rolling out next-gen Secure Web Gateway. If you have an existing one, we're going to take a look at what do you currently do. I would say we wouldn't want to lift and shift from another device. Say it's a firewall sitting on the edge of your network, and you want to take all that data and put it in Netscope. I wouldn't do that. Netscope's so modern that the firewall rules may be outdated, or they may be complex. So you may have like reams and reams of URLs and things that have been collected over the years that you're looking to block. So therefore, we would have a review of what you currently got or what you currently need, and how to get that into the Netscope format. Netscope's interface is really easy to use, very intuitive. We would just be looking at transferring what you need or what you currently have into that format, into what they need. We would do some testing of those policies before we roll them out to anyone, just to make sure that we are meeting your baseline security for your web security there. We would bring on a couple of pilot users. While I would be testing on, say, a fixed number of sites and so on, we want to see what a user in the BAU space, what their experience is going to be like if Netscope was rolled out. And that can call out some things that maybe one team uses an app that another team doesn't. So therefore, they need an allow rule for that and so on. You wouldn't catch it until they were actually using Netscope. So we go through that, get some more visibility of user traffic and what work needs to be done. Now we're looking at deploying the client out as a whole. So we've got our pilot users. We would have given them the right to have a client on their machine, but now we want to send that out to more users. And there are various deployment methods to get that automated and get that delivered to people's devices. We're now doing testing as part of a wider pilot, maybe spread over a week as it says here. And now we're looking at onboarding everyone. Now that we're absolutely comfortable that, you know, if we roll this out, there's going to be no impact, that people aren't going to be blocked from doing their BAU activities, we're now looking to bring on everyone else. Throughout all of this, we're looking at visibility and alerting, and that's where the key aspect of this comes in for a controlled rollout. With Netscope, you'd now be able to see everything that a user is up to and base your policies, build out your config around that. So you really want to get that client onto these people's machines and get that visibility as quickly as possible. The enablement with the users, this is where we're not just blocking a user from going somewhere, we're encouraging them to take the right action. So if they get an alert, we can customize those alerts to say, you shouldn't be doing X, you should be doing Y. And in some cases, we can take them straight there. So for example, if they try to upload a file to Office 365 and they're not allowed to, they could get a prompt saying you should only be using Google Drive, and it would take them automatically to Google Drive, rather than them having to go and browse to it or so on. Or you could be taking them straight to a company policy to remind them they shouldn't be doing something, or just giving them a nudge in the right direction, because you don't always have to block. You can just give them a warning, ask them to put in a reason, hit OK, and so on. But we're all about getting the users trained over what the right behavior is. Now we're looking at enforcing everything, but with our support. So we would be on hand, because remember, you have to have your policies in place and also your processes. So if a user did come along a site that should be blocked or shouldn't be blocked, how do they get that implemented into Netscope? So if I was to go to, say, a customer site and I find that it's been miscategorized or it's brand new, and therefore Netscope is going to block it based on the policies we've got in, how do they inform us? So with our help, even if 100 policies changes come in through a day, you're not swamped with that. We're there to assist you. Now we're looking at what do we do with the information that we've got. For me, pushing it out into a CM tool, making alert actions using Splunk, for example. There is a Netscope app and add-on from on the Splunk-based website that gives you a whole range of rich dashboards and easy ways to get the Netscope data from your cloud tenant into your Splunk environment and utilize it in there as part of SOC processes. And now we're looking at, if you did have a previous secure web gateway or CASB, we're looking to get rid of that too. So we would be with you throughout that whole process. And that's me.
Thank you. And the second pillar is the CASB pillar. So you end up with that visibility of all the behaviors, policies to control your behaviors of the users, and it would cover all of the cloud application usage. Same things that it includes, again, with the disguising, the scoping, and the roadmap and the implementation done, but quite a different sort of project as well, which looks more like this. So Paul, if you would do the needed for, thank you.
So this is written with the idea that it's purely CASB. Most customers would have the secure web gateway and the CASB, but we've segmented it out so that it's just a standalone pillar here, and it's the same principle. We want to get those clients out. We want to get the visibility of what the user's doing. The clients themselves can go on to Windows, Macs, Chromebooks, Android, iPhones, etc. Anywhere that a user's using the web activity. There's also a Unix agent, I believe, that is now on general release. So we want to see that visibility, and then we can implement our policies later to control that. When we talk about sanctioned, we've got on the list here workshop for what the sanctioned activity is. Sanctioned is it's an allowed app, usually a paid for app that a company uses. So for example, we use Google here at Somerford, whereas some of my customers use Office 365. You want to identify what those applications are. Now, what comes out in the visibility stages as we're reviewing this is you'll find that there are departments that pay for their own apps. So you might have a department that pays for Atlassian, or you might have a dev team that they use GitHub and so on. And this is where you're talking about shadow IT, where you don't have the full picture of what your company does because everything's segmented. You haven't got the full visibility of web traffic and so on. You don't see that department's accounts as to what web services they pay for, etc. But all of that comes out in this visibility phase, and you really want to get them tagged to say, we are aware of this, we know what this app is, and our users should be using it, and create applicable policies so that those apps are allowed if you were to create any blanket policy that might end up blocking them. Now, when it comes to the sanctioned apps, inside the Netscope, they have this CCI, which is the Cloud Confidence Index. There are about 50,000 applications listed in it. They do probably about 15,000 of them are probably under research. So let's say 35,000 have got details on them. They list all the activities that Netscope control, if there are any. They will allow you to compare them based upon their legal requirements, their price, their functionality, etc. You can do that comparison. That's handy if you've got concerns over what happens to your data if you upload it to a cloud storage site. They've got the legal information there for most of them as to whether you own it, they own it. If a department is using Adobe and then another department is using Canva, should they all be using the same thing to make marketing materials, for example? Which one is the cheapest? What one's the most secure? You get that kind of comparison in there. And so we're looking to tag those apps, get the visibility and get it confirmed what are actual company apps that are being used. Throughout this stage, we're implementing policies to either allow, block, etc. So for example, if we use Google Drive and that is the only cloud storage app that we should be using, then I could create a policy to allow Google Drive at the CASB level, but then at the web level, I could block every other cloud storage. Now, if I blocked them all, it would probably cause a problem because we'd probably have customers, as I say, that use OneDrive. So this is where we go into the granular activity level, where we allow our users to browse to OneDrive and they can download, but they can never upload to it, or we could block them logging into things unless they're using a company account. Again, that's key to working out what is a sanctioned app and what isn't, because you don't want your users using personal accounts on cloud storage sites because they could just upload to their personal account, data exfiltration. Or you could have a user using their company account to sign up for things, and if that site gets breached, you've essentially encountered a breach as well, but you might not know that it's ever happened. It might never come to the surface that that site has lost usernames and passwords, but they've essentially breached a username and password for your company. As we go through this, we're looking at the unsanctioned behavior. So that ties into what I just said about the blocking of the cloud storage and so on. But there may be things in there that users do use. So in my job, I use forums all the time for checking on issues and looking for KBs and previous errors people have had. But you might block all social, and those forums may be classed as social. So we're looking to find that balance through here as to how do users do their job, what do they need to do their job without compromising the security of the company. And again, the enablement with the users, it's through that controlled rollout, that user education of alerts to make sure they're fully informed as to what's happening, why it's happening, etc., what action to take if you see a block. And we're going to bring that data into Splunk and automate. We could be, say, for example, if we detect that someone has been phished. So if I always log in from the UK and I use a Netscope client on my machine, if I log in from outside the UK and there is no Netscope client on my machine, we could be looking at setting up an alert action that will disable my account. Things like that can be done with the wider usage of Netscope. And that's me, Anne.
Thank you. So the final pillar that we're offering in the Rapid Adoption Pack, again, is the DLP pillar. And so we're protecting against the data loss. This is what we'll get from the end of it. You'll have classified the sensitive data, and we'd have tuned a bit to make sure that you're not getting swamped by false positives. And we'll be securing exfiltration points as well. Still included, again, that scoping and sizing, the roadmaps and your environment setup, so you can do the other pillars as well in your own time too. And a project here looks like this.
So for this one, again, treating it like a separate pillar, but usually I would expect to see everyone has this, but we can treat it as a standalone element. Again, we need those clients out there, we need the visibility, we need to see what people are doing, and we also need the ability to control what they can do. The policy side of it is important because while we can all go through training on GDPR, what is an actual breach to the company? Where should that data be going? Who should be accessing that data? What controls are in place to stop someone taking that data elsewhere? Say, for example, I'm working in sales and I need to get a particular document over to a potential customer by 5 p.m. and I find that I cannot transfer it to them over email. So I go to WeTransfer and I put it in WeTransfer and I send the person a link. What breaches have I just done? Because if you think of the GDPR element, if that document contained any GDPR info, I've now lost control of it. If I never told anyone that I did that, the company doesn't know that I just did that. Those kinds of things come to the surface with Netscope that you can control, but you also get to see that someone tried it or they did it if there was no policy in place there. But it's about defining what is your actual baseline DLP policy. About that, if I came to you with a subject access request and you had to send me all the data by law under that request, can you find it all? Do you know where it all is? you would have that in Netscope because you can now control where it can go. Therefore, you know where it's going to be. It's going to be in your sanctioned cloud storage app or any other app that allows for that kind of data, but you at least know where it is from the activity that a user can't send it anywhere else. The false positive aspect is important because we are looking at the misnomers that can occur. So for example, I have an email signature, and in that email signature is my name, my phone number, the company address, and so on. Well, under GDPR, that's classed as identifying information. But is it really? Is it really GDPR? Because it's not my home address, it's not my home phone number, it's just my name, but it would still be a flag for GDPR. So therefore, if you were to set up a policy for GDPR and you started sending out information like that, it could get flagged incorrectly. And we can help remove those false positives. One of the huge cases that I saw was a retail supermarket, and it was the word white, which is a racial identifier, showed up in a number of products in the store, such as white bread, white flour, white wine, etc. And they got a number of false positives as a result. So it's looking to control that and stop you being swamped with alerts that shouldn't be happening based upon your business needs. When we're looking at the enforcement, we can leave it up to the user. So I said before, we can just prompt a user or we can block a user. If you want, say for example, we've got two different elements. We've got PCI data that should definitely not be going into our cloud storage. So it contains credit card information, bank information, etc. Then we've got PII, and we're allowed to put PII into our cloud storage. Well, we can create policies that are different for both of them. The PCI is going to be an out-and-out block. It should not be downloaded. It should not be uploaded. It should never be in transit from wherever that user is to any kind of cloud storage app. But for PII, they're allowed to put that into the cloud storage. So therefore, it will go up into the cloud storage. On the block for the PCI, we have a note that educates the user, you should not be doing this. If you feel this is wrong, please contact us, etc. But for the PII, we could just put on a gentle nudge to say, are you aware this document contains PII information? If you feel this is correct, type in a reason for uploading it and click continue. So you're not getting in the user's way there. And then again, we want to send this information into Splunk where we can get full visibility and potential alert actions, dashboarding, and so on as to what is actually going on inside of a company with regards to our data movement, how we're controlling it, and what action to take if there is any kind of breach detected by Netscope. I say that because it does user behavior analytics. So if somebody suddenly downloaded, say, 100 gig of data in a day, then you could be flagging that as an alert, having it in Splunk, taking some immediate action because that has occurred, rather than finding out after the fact that somebody's just stolen all your sales data because they're leaving that day. That type of thing can be controlled by Netscope and works in partnership with Splunk for those alert actions. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. So after those three options of projects, we'd be happy to join them together if you wanted, but you would have this Netscope license installed, up and running, working for you. You'd have enablement and training of how to kind of support it, and the users as well, getting their nudges and their awareness improved. So fully implemented Netscope. And then from there, you'll have our access to our support desk, Somerford support desk, which is 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And we deal with 91% or even more sometimes of the tickets coming in. We don't have to escalate to the vendor. You get a very hands-on approach and good support from us. On top of that, you get your dedicated account manager, your six monthly health check, and access to our user groups, forums, webinars, so you can meet other clients who are using these products too, and knowledge share between each other. And again, we've got that option where we could help you bring it into your SIEM on Splunk. So that's this quick overview of what the rapid adoption packs for Netscope are. If you want to explore this or to ask any questions, please feel free to email info@somerfordassociates.com. We also have a page on the website on that where you can see a few more details as well. So somerfordassociates.com/Netscope Adoption Packs with hyphens. And just in sum, it's a good way to get some rapid value, but in that controlled way. So you'll be able to have a tried and tested project process, and you'll be able to get to the security stance that you want, but with control and that comfort as well. So I hope you enjoyed listening to us today. And again, any questions, just send them through and we'll be really happy to help.